What if I told you that the Liberals committed taxpayer money to funding terrorism? You'd probably think it was some kind of really sick joke. But our federal government has restored millions to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, that the former Conservative government cut in 2010. UNRWA was established to provide humanitarian relief to millions of Palestinians, but has a long history of ties to Hamas. That's the terrorist group that controls the Gaza Strip and wants to destroy Israel. Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization by both the Canadian and US governments, by the way. You would think the mention of Hamas and this agency in the same sentence would be enough for the Liberals to cut funding. Instead, they defend it. Minister of International Development, Marie-Claude reassured us that the federal government is checking up on the agency to make sure that taxpayer funds aren't going to terror-related activities. She says $50 million has gone to emergency services, education, health and social services for Palestinian refugees. She also says that the Liberals have trained over 3,000 UN employees on remaining neutral during ongoing conflict. But according to this framework of cooperation contract that was obtained through access to information, the Liberals know there are transparency problems with the UN agency, so we don't even know exactly what we're paying for. Not to mention, there's little emphasis put on actual terrorism in this document. It also shows that the Liberals are relying on UNRWA and the United Nations to monitor neutrality. Both are biased, and Bibeau's statements on accountability and safeguards being central to the management of Canada's development and humanitarian assistance in West Bank and Gaza are empty. Although Hamas ceded border crossings to the Palestinian Authority recently, they're still the dominant force in Gaza and control virtually everything. That means there's really no other choice than to pass agency funds through Hamas-controlled outlets. Access to information documents also show that the Canadian federal government seems more concerned with public perception than doing anything about the terrorist connections between the agency and the terrorist group. Here, the feds outline expectations for the agency when neutrality violations occur. That includes addressing these matters publicly and informing the Canadian government promptly so that they can counter criticism. The Liberals even know that former agency employees like Suhail al-Hindi have ties to Hamas, yet they continue sending millions of dollars its way. Al-Hindi was chairman of the Palestinian Workers' Union and principal of a UN school who was suspended twice for participating in Hamas events and being suspected of election into Hamas. Conveniently, al-Hindi announced he was taking an early retirement after getting caught for the second time. He may have retired, but access to information documents reveal that there was a second employee under investigation. In this email covering meeting points addressing neutrality issues, a government staffer asks about updates on al-Hindi and a second preliminary investigation. The feds also know that Hamas controls UNRWA-run schools that are being used to house and fire rockets at Israeli civilians, build terror tunnels that cross Israel's border, and to train child terrorists during summer camps. Even the teachers have been found posting hateful anti-Jew messages on social media. Surely if the Liberals cared about the children in Gaza and curriculum, they would have cut funding due to recent and numerous examples of extreme anti-Semitism in agency-published textbooks. And if the Liberals cared about terrorism and neutrality, they would have cut funding after the discovery of this terror tunnel underneath an agency school as recently as October of this year. All signs point to this UN agency being anything but neutral, and terrorist ties have already been well established and documented. The Liberals could rip this contract up any time now, but it seems they're more interested in their image and making excuses for the horrific activities that this agency seems to be involved in. For the Rebel.Media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of the news and commentary that you're just not going to find anywhere else.